Here's the next one that we got here. It's the 14-inch rescue saw. Trying right now to implement having 2 of these things per queen or per ladder, whatever it may be. And they have the diamond tip blade, which pretty much cuts anything and everything other than wood. The manufacturer says they can cut wood, but they get gummed up real bad. So let's just not do that. You've got 2 chainsaws that cut wood, so there's really no reason for it. But
how much does that blade cost?
This one right here is almost $200. For the diamond tip, and this one is bi-directional. So whenever you get to the point where you feel like it's not cutting as much, you can turn around. It's got another different pattern on it that's kind of like cutting a hole in it. So, and both blades that I'm going to show you are completely bi-directional. So you can go either way. So there's no mistake in putting them on. So Skylar's going to tear this one down and show you basically the simple principle of tearing this thing down.
I'm going to go over this blade.
Alright, this is a 12-inch carbide tip blade. If anybody in operations has one of these right now, please take it out of service. The reason why is the carbide tips themselves, you're getting to the point when these are running close to 5,000 RPMs, they tend to break. If you're cutting wood or you hit a nail or something like that or some sort of rebar, it tends to hit these things and chip them off. I've had a couple of them where they've actually chipped off and came directly into somebody's neck. That's the biggest reason why we're taking these out of service, because they're just really unsafe. There's no reason for these things to even be in service. So again, any of the carbide tip like this one, get rid of it. I hope it's not on any of your units, and it seems like it might be, so we'll be taking care of that. Another one. Another blade that's in there are these. These are the composite 14-inch blades. These are ones that are basically, whenever you're cutting on them, they tend to shrink a lot and chip a lot. This is a training blade only. I don't want these things being on a frontline unit if you're not doing any training. So if you want to do training, you're more than welcome to use these things. But we bought these, so if you want to use them, train with what you're going to have on your unit.
What's the other blade that we should see?
Do what?
What's the other blade that we should see?
The other one is going to be a 14-inch carbide, and this one's called the nugget blade. What this one is again, this is bi-directional. This blade actually will cut anything and everything that you throw at it. I don't care what it is. I tested it myself doing rebar. Didn't really like how it acted like that with the certain little rebar stuff. You'd want it to tend to kick back whenever it hits that certain place. So I stay away from that with this one. You've got the diamond blade for that one, so you've got more to do that one. But again, both these say that they will cut anything and everything. So.
Okay. And generally, people should stick with wood or roof material.
Right.
With this one. Okay.
Try and stay with any kind of metal, and just stay away from that with the metal. But if you got masonry or sheetrock or whatever, maybe whatever you guys want to do, you can use that. Yeah. So this blade right here, it's close to $400. It's $389. Bi-directional. You're probably never have this thing replaced. They're just indestructible. I haven't had any to replace. This one here, you'll see that it's got a lot of black tar on it. It will slow the process down on this blade itself. So if it gets to the point where like that, call me. I take them back in there, I put them in a vat and soak them, and they look like brand new whenever they're done. So.
And when you mean bi-directional, it means you can take this off, flip it over, and it's coming from another direction.
Correct. And if you'll see on both of them, you're going to have the bi-directional on here. So what that means, all you can do is flip it, and you got another one right there. So there's no way of making a mistake on putting any either way. So whenever you take everything off, you just want to make sure you got everything here. You don't have any nicks on the arbor itself. This is where actually that blade's going to be set on. If you've got any nicks on here, you may want to kind of get some sandpaper, whatever you guys got, and kind of clean it up a little bit. Really doesn't happen very often though, but a lot of times you try and set that blade on, it's giving you a real hard time to do that. Usually there's a nick or something inside this arbor, so clean it up and it should be good.
So it should just
they should
pop naturally.
Right.
Feel natural. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Whenever he tightens this thing down, we just want to get a really good snug on this thing, because there's a lot of RPMs being pulled on this actual wheel itself. So don't be scared to crank down on it.
What do you think?
That's perfect.
All right.
That's good.
What's next?
Okay. Now, if you want, we'll go ahead and do a visual inspection on the actual belt drive on the saw. So what we're going to do is same tool that you use on the chainsaws or whatever, they're readily available. We're going to take these two off. And hang on real quick before we do this. You're going to notice that there's a tensioner on this thing that you'll look at. There's two marks on it. You'll see two arrows on both sides. You're going to see two cross hatches right there. This little piece of metal right here is basically where that should be dead center inside here. You can tell if it's way up, this belt's going to be way too tight. So on the tensioning itself, you want that bar right here to be completely centered up inside here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to let him continue it. Take the tension off.
Lefty loosey.
Now that he's taking the tension off, you're going to notice that everything pretty much falls off. So once you get the two center bolts off, this whole section here will slide off. Just like that. And here's your belt drive. Doing your visual inspections on these things, you just want to look at the belt and see if it's got any cracks. You can kind of rotate it all the way around, or if you want, lay it down and you can spin it off and you can still do the same thing, whatever you want to do here. You just want to look inside, look at some stress cracks if you have any, or if they've got real hot. That happens. Once you're done with that, look on the outside and see if you got any burrs or anything getting chafed up right here. And if you feel that your belt's not in the best shape that you'd like it to be and you want it to be replaced, call me and I'll replace it for you. Okay. It's not a problem at all. So that's really all you're going to be doing on the belt drive, is just checking for that. Put it back on and we're ready to put everything back together. There's a keyway right there, and then you want to. There you go.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, it should be.
This is not over.
Relieve some more tension, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's hitting it from here.
You need to back it up.
Backing it or tighten it down?
No, the other way. I'm sorry. You're going to see that it falls in.
Oh, I see. That's it.
Same thing like the chainsaws. Whenever you tighten these down, don't tighten them real tight because you still got to do an adjustment on that belt.
A little bit more. You said you want that little.
Like
in the middle.
Yeah, we need to go some more.
You mean back this way?
Yeah, back that way.
So let it off.
Right there.
Really? That doesn't.
To kick the longest field goal in National League history. Dempsey kicks. It's on the way. It is good. It's good. It's good.
How's that?
Looks good. Completely tight. Make sure everything, your shroud and everything's on the same side and the lips are good, and crank it all down and you're good to go.
And this space here is okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, all that space is right there. It's just because you're pulling the tension off of it and you're shoving the whole front cover forward. Absolutely.
What is the purpose of the two different blades? You said both of them cut through anything. Why do we have two different?
Well, because we got two different saws, and that one right there is just a little bit more like this one. We can cut anything and everything. The other one does too, but from what I understand, we've got higher revolutions on this one. You can actually cut a lot faster because it's so much thinner. You can cut steel with this one. The other one you can't cut steel with.
Oh, okay.
So,
Lightweight roofs though, with corrugated
absolutely.
steel though.
If you're trying
No,
to
not on this, but on the nugget blade.
You could, but you're going to see that it wants to retract. You're going to see that it wants to pop a lot when you're using that. And that's why we got this real thin one. It cuts like butter. It just slices through. That one, you'd be cutting a lot more masonry with it. You're not going to get it gunked up like masonry or asphalt. If you try and use this one with asphalt, you're going to notice that all the diamond in here, it's going to get gunked up really, really quick.
Okay.
That one.
Can you talk about that hose on camera?
This is for water, cooling, just for cooling down whatever you're doing masonry, or if you're doing asphalt, you can use this to cool the system down. You guys really don't use it, from what I understand. Now, if you're going to notice on all the cutoff saws, the 14-inch cutoff saws, there's a two-part system on these things, two-part air filter system. So, just another way to keep this thing completely cleaned up. Actually, this one's kind of like a K9, it's actually oiled. So it's going to go through this system before it goes through anything else. That's just really because of the masonry and the concrete. Whenever you're cutting it, they don't want anything getting trapped inside this thing, and that's the whole reason why the cutoff saws have a two-part air filter system on it. So
Is there a way to clean this? Do you want us to clean it?
there's no way to clean this thing, because if you put water on it, you destroy the air filter. There's so much oil, that's inside this thing. If you feel that it's dirty, call me, I'll replace it.
Okay.
Yeah. Same thing with this one. I mean, you could use water with it, but I don't recommend it because it's just a cardboard base.
Okay.
Spark plug. We'll go ahead and check the spark plug on this one. And it was loose.
It was loose.
Another reason why we always want to inspect our stuff.
And then we check the ceramic, right? It looks dirty.
Yeah. If you want to, you can actually get the spark plug and put it to your nose and smell it. This one's got a real strong fuel smell to it. So if you can see that, then you'll notice that someone either left the choke on, or it could have been bad fuel, bad mix. New versus old.
Is that one already gapped?
Yeah, they're all pre-gapped, yeah. Spark plugs look like that, you're going to have a real hard time trying to get this thing to start. So when you're doing your inspection, if you see one like that, please call me and I'll be more than happy to replace it. Again, this is something that causes these things to not start. This is one of the biggest reasons why they won't start, because they're just so fuel filled.
Anything else, Brian?
If you guys want to tear into this, you can, and you can kind of do like the other one, check all the fins and everything like that if you
Okay,
want.
yeah.
So on this particular system, you want to grab anything that you got, a flathead or whatever, and just pop this piece off here, and it comes off. All this is the grommet that's going into the carburetor. I'll show you in a minute. Okay. That one is? Okay, we can get another one for you. Alright, pretty much the same system as all the other chainsaws. Cylinder wall, here's your carburetor, here's your adjustments on here. Please do not touch your adjustments on there. You notice this is actually coming from the flywheel and everything. That's just for cooling purposes. That's actually coming up and cooling everything down around here, which is a good system. Same thing, if you need to see that it's real dirty, we can same thing, clean it up, solvent, whatever, brake clean it all up.
Stuff a rag in here.
Stuff a rag in there,
Okay.
absolutely.
Just keep the plug in there, or keep the plug in there and put the solvent on there?
Yeah, the best way, just leave the plug in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And that's brake cleaner or that citrus cleaner, right?
Well, I'll do the citrus cleaner actually to break it all down and get all the stuff. Get all the stuff down, and then once you got it all broken down, that brake clean break, it just makes everything fall off. Makes it a lot easier for you guys to do
So
it.
citrus and then brake.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Once you got it all torn down like this, you just want to grab your Allen head and check all your Allen head bolts. Make sure everything's tight. A lot of vibration going on in this thing, so just keep everything tight. All on your bars themselves underneath. Same thing. So do your visual inspection. Everything looks okay, then we're ready to put everything back on. On the 375s and the 960s, you're going to see that grommet that I put on there, it doesn't want to close. You're going to have to get a screwdriver or whatever you got and force it. Oh. Once you get one, you can actually get it. Pull it all the way around. The 375s, the K960s, the 970s, it's just got a completely sealed system. This is going directly into that air filter. It's a beautiful design on what they use. They don't want anything getting inside these carburetors. So.
Missing.
All right, now the Skylar's completely done. Same thing. We want to check everything up, make sure everything's tight. There's 2 down here. These come loose again. Again, it's just a plastic with metal, so it happens. Just grab them, snug them down. Pretty much anything that's around, you just check them, tighten them down, and that's pretty much it on your visual inspections. As far as the pull system and the starter ropes, if you need to replace, absolutely the same. You know, nothing different about them.
What's next?
So, other than that, that's pretty much it on this saw. These are a little bit different than there, just a little bit more easier to work with and pretty much bulletproof.
And then the fuel is still
Same
50 to 1?
50 to 1 on this one,
Okay.
yeah. And now you see there's no bar roll on this thing because this is a belt driven system on the cutoff saw, so you're not going to see any kind of roll on here.
Okay.
So,
Same thing on the bottom with the fuel,
right.
as far as the
Same
tank.
thing. This one is a little bit newer, so it actually has this right here.
Yeah, these have shoes.
Yeah, but if you look at all the chainsaws and the small chainsaws, they don't have that. Why? I don't know.
It's weird.
This-
Why can't they put this?
Well, they did. They put that on there,
Okay.
but it doesn't. Well, it doesn't help.
All right.
So again, it's just the way that the manufacturers are. Just the best way to fix that is just put something on the ground and we'll resolve that problem completely.
Okay, why don't you start?
Same
this?
thing. You can push the switch. Make sure you push it. Choke. Pull it out. This one's got an on-off switch. If you look at it, you'll see stop. That way, on. Right there. So now the system's ready to be started. Certain people stick their feet in here to hold it down. Please don't do that. If you want to do anything, just hold it right here and you can pull on it here or hold it here. There's really no reason to do that because all you're going to do is kick that throttle off. And you're going to put this saw out of service. Same thing. All Husqvarnas do that. Push it back in. Pull the choke. That's just kind of what I do before you turn it down. I just make sure that the thing's not rotating anymore, and then I kill it. A lot of guys just shut it off and let it rotate, but it spins and spins and spins. It's kind of a dangerous thing. So just hit it on, huh? That's just the blade running at higher RPMs. If anything, you can hear it at 5,400 RPMs. It's screaming. Yeah.
Did y'all talk about adjusting the belt while I walked away for a few minutes?
I did.
Okay.
You know how to do it?
Yes.
Okay. So other than that, on the 375s, 960s, they're all pretty much the same thing. So any questions on that, or?
Can you kind of go through your troubleshooting? You're pulling, chokes out, nothing's happening. What are your next steps?
Okay. I'll show you a good instant that I have a lot. Pull it, come over here, and they start it, doesn't want to start. A lot of times you can check over here, the ignition's turned off, or it could be bad fuel. It could be something like the coil, that the actual coil was disconnected from the spark plug, a lot of things. But for the most part, you'll start it like all the other Husqvarnas, everything starts and it fires off for that 1 second. A lot of times what happens, everyone either turns this off or doesn't turn the choke off, or thinks that hey, there's something going wrong with the saw because it didn't want to start. So they leave everything the way it is and they keep cranking on it. Leaving that choke on like that, you're flooding the system completely, and it only takes 2 or 3 tries before that spark plug looks like that black one that was over there. So, like any Husqvarna, whenever you start pulling on it, it fires at one. Make sure you turn that choke off. That choke needs to be on one time, and that's it. And then once it fires like 1 quick second, close it and leave it the way it is. There's no reason for it to be on. There's more than enough fuel on there. So,
And if you get to the point where you think you're flooded, what are you gonna do to correct that? Are different
you're gonna have to take
ways?
take the spark. You can take everything on the card, and you can actually take that spark plug out, and you can actually look at it and you can smell it. If you can look at it and see that it's completely saturated, like water that's on that spark plug, it's completely fuel fouled. Really nothing to do other than replace that spark plug, or you can try and clean it out. There's not going to get a whole lot out of that, though.
Does it work to push the choke in and just keep pulling, or to pull the trigger and
You
keep
can,
pulling?
but if you get to the point where you're sitting there cranking and you're over a minute or so after that, you're not going to start it.
Okay.
You've already flooded the system so much that there's no way it's going to start. You can let it sit, walk away from it for a couple hours. Sometimes I've seen that where they'll fire back off, but it really doesn't matter because that plug's so fouled out right now. I don't want it in the saw itself. I'd rather replace it. So call me if that ever happens. That way we can have a fresh spark plug in there, and I'll check the gas and make sure the mixes are right and see if we got fresh gas in there, because we've had that before. The city of Austin doesn't give us the best gas in the world that I know of. I mean, I've seen some that was pretty nasty stuff at the bottom of the tanks that we have, and a lot of sediment, and so there's nothing we can do about that. I wish we can get some better gas, but we can't.
Sometimes there's a sweet spot on your choke, like some people will say, pull the choke, once it kicks over, you got to slide it in just a quarter of an inch, and then that gets you going, and then you push it in. If it's doing that, there's something wrong, and should it be turned in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you feel that there's anything wrong with these saws at all, put it on a work request, call me, or I'll come out and do it. I'll come out and fix it.
Okay.
Any saw that we got, it should be the same thing. A couple of fires off, a couple of cranks, and it should start. And if it doesn't do that, then yeah, there's probably a problem with it. First thing to do, pull the spark plug, or just kind of go through your quick things and see if there's anything wrong that you may have done.
Okay.
Bad gas, fouled it out, one of the two.
Okay.
It's human nature. We all make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm gonna put the orange degreaser on the saw to get off all the nasty first, and then we'll take the brake cleaner to clean it off here in a few minutes. But we're gonna put the orange on there, let it set up, and then we're gonna come back with the brake cleaner. Gonna spray it on here real liberally. It's gonna help break down all this tar and grime. Put it all over the saw.
Talk about why that rag's in that.
With this rag inside the carburetor here, just keep the orange cleaner out of the carburetor so that nothing's going down the throat of the carb. It's not going to hurt the muffler at all. And we're just going to let it sit here for 5 or 10 minutes to let the solvent break down the tar. All right, so after the orange is soaked into the saw here, you can either come back with a wire brush or come back with some brake cleaner to see what you have left to do. The brake cleaner will probably do fine. So let's see how that does. All right, so we can see that the brake cleaner got most of it off, but what we probably could do is come back with some of that orange cleaner and then come in here and scrub in here real good. Or just might even just do it without even doing any more orange. And that helped out some as well. So we could do another coat of orange and scrub it some more and then come back with some brake cleaner to get a little further clean.